The new map in Season 7, Samoa, has just been revealed, and here's the rundown of each objective, with all the flank routes, high grounds, and choke points that are coming soon to the game. Let's get started with a look at the first point, downtown. There are plenty of downtowns in other maps, characterized by cityscapes, buildings, and often high grounds and open space. It looks a lot like Numbani with the usage of shapes and patterns along with the obvious city setting. Here's the top-down view of the map, with a circular objective and offset circular walls around it. There's even an outer ring of buildings surrounding the objective, giving cover to approach the point. Starting from the outside in, let's look at the rotation to the objective. Immediately outside of the spawn doors is this massive energy research building with a giant sign saying Samoa. Going to the coast side of this building will give you access to the high grounds close to the point, as well as a mega pack on the very edge of the map. Going towards the mainland side instead will take you up to the high ground above the point. There's also an area under the super tall high ground. It's a small advantageous position with some pillars for cover and also a small elevation that gives you an advantage over the point. These two high grounds surrounding the point are pretty strong, but in varying different ways. This high ground is much higher up and very safe, but also has a very limited sideline. It's a super skinny angle that definitely can't harbor an entire 5-player squadron. The other high grounds are a bit lower, but they have a lot more access to flanks and safe rooms, even though the high ground itself is a bit more dangerous. Because there's a lot of cover and space leading up to the point like in Ilios, the fights will most likely be fought on point, or in the high ground area at the very top, as both teams fight for the ability to drop on the point or even just force out the angle on the high ground. Even though most teams won't want to just sit on this high ground alone, it's perfect for a solo range DPS like Ashe or Widow, so make sure to keep your eye on the sightline so you don't get caught off guard. Now on to the actual objective. It's got a massive clock tower, similar to the Spire on Eichenwald First, but with a path right through the middle of it rather than favoring the defenders like on Eichenwald. Using this middle spire to your advantage is going to be key to avoiding spam damage, especially as a rush comp, since you want to be able to contest the point while still in cover, and still be close enough to the enemy to be able to push them when you want. For spam compositions, it's going to be really important to control the mainland side of the map, since that's the only position where you can safely spam this small area in, since the opposite side by the coast has a wall, meaning you have to be on the point to be able to see into that little room. And this clock tower isn't alone in being a massive structure on the map, since a lot of the buildings rise up pretty high. And combined with a big skybox, you can expect a lot of Pharah and Echo play, especially since the high grounds are either too small, like the very top one, or right next to massive tall cover, allowing flyers and other flankers to get close to them without taking damage. So, this point is remarkably balanced when it comes to strengths and weaknesses of the three main comp types: spam, rush, and dive. The mainland side of the map favors spammy comps, with a good high ground for a solo angle and strong sightlines into the point, enabling you to pressure anyone contesting. The coast side of the map has a lot of flank routes and rooms, allowing divers to set up and look for backline, as well as access both sides of the point through control of the museum room, the big dome building with all the marine biology stuff. And for a rush comp, the cover leading up to the point as well as the point itself allowing for rotating away from damage and then rotating into your targets is definitely good enough to make the style viable. It definitely favors more dive teams, and probably a healthy mix of spam. I could definitely see Soldier and Tracer being top DPS picks for this map, and for supports and tanks, Lucio and Orisa could put a lot of pressure on the point. We'll have to see what the actual meta is, because the map comes with a lot of balance changes, so Orisa might not be as good. But regardless, it looks good for mobile heroes. The next point is called Volcano, and yeah, it is right in the middle of an active volcano. It looks amazing, and the point is similar to other control maps like Antarctic Peninsula or Mecha Base that have a point dedicated to research or military bases that have a lot of closed off areas. But this point switches things up by having the point be completely out in the open, but still at the top of a hill leading down into the magma. At the bottom of the hill is a mega pack, but obviously it's a dangerous place to go, since it's an easy boop spot, and booping people into lava instead of just off a cliff is definitely going to be a goal for anyone trying this map out for the first time. The point itself is rather small, and just like Oasis University, has the pit in the middle of the map. The Overwatch dev team loves pits. At New Junk City, the refinery even has a really awful pit in the middle of the point. But this hole in the ground isn't going to keep you down, and at least not for very long, since there is a jump pad right underneath, meaning falling in will just bounce you back up. This is pretty crazy, but falling into the hole and hopping out in front of everyone on the point is still not ideal. But it can definitely lead to some crazy sneaky rotations exploding onto the point. There are still boop spots inside the small room, as there's a bit of lava around the sides, but it'll probably be rare to be killed here. But more importantly, this looks like an Apex Legends map, with a lot of cover and a slowly inclining high ground. Towards the deeper part of the map, there are rooms that, just like downtown, have good line of sight to the point with a slight high ground. Fighting over this will probably be second nature to players, unless their first nature is to beeline straight for the point. Just like on New Queen Street, players fight for the statue, or on Ilios, players go for the cage on Well, the idea is to get a good position that overlooks the point, instead of just running straight to it. This is probably one of the maps that is really strong for Winston, because of the way these barriers work. All of these walls around the point can be stood on, allowing for a great vantage point to play aggressively on without having to drop into the enemy team. Same thing goes for Genji, climbing up, and even Hanzo. The wall climb is great for these type of walls that not only you can climb over, but can stand on as well. Other comps that might be good are rush comps, but specifically Queen Rush or Zarya Rush. Being able to chase people in one big cycle. Just kiting back is probably not going to be enough to save you, at least if you're fighting on the point. Since all of these walls are paper thin, it's going to be easy to chase you around and keep following you. On the further up part of the map, in the closed off area, it's going to be pretty classic. You get around the corner and you keep running, down the halls, and it's going to be harder to chase you. Compared to the other points and even other control maps, it's definitely way easier to hold spawn room here in Volcano. It's kind of similar to Nepal Sanctum, where there's a large open space that you can get spammed as you try to leave the spawn. Despite the big hill, the inclines, and the slight high grounds, it's probably not going to be great for spam, since there's a lot of line of sight blockers, a lot of cover, which while good for spammers to stay alive, is also really good for flankers to get on them without taking damage. Rush comps can be pretty good as well, but they'll probably be outmaneuvered by dive heroes who can use all the space at their disposal to escape and also play on the high grounds of the point. Definitely looking to be a dive map above all. But who's to say, with the close quarters, Queen Rush might be the way to go. Finally, it's the last point, the beach. Tons of huts are all over the place, not just in the spawn area. These are all individual rooms that can have small fights in them. Junkertown has a couple, and while they're enclosed, it's pretty easy to spam into them as well, so they're probably not great for staying in for too long as a team, but as a solo player, maybe as Ana or Ashe, it could be great for cutting off your potential vulnerable angles. This map has two layers to it, the beach and the boardwalk, with the point being on the lower level of the beach, surrounded by high grounds that make it seem difficult to contest without being triple angled and shot. But the point has flanks behind it, and even a little roof over it, meaning safe positions for Iliadis Pylon and for Baptiste Immortality Field to be as unkillable as possible. It's also really easy to swap between positions on this map, so it's likely that you'll always want to fight over the middle, no matter what, since it gives you the most options to rotate wherever you want. Lots of stairs means lots of access to any team comp, and the only thing stopping you will be the enemy counter-rotating or meeting you for a fight. There's even an almost identical room to the one on the top of the hill in Volcano, with a pillar right in the middle to play around and use footwork to gain space. The point itself is rather simple, but outside of it, there's basically a small village of huts all over the place, making flanking really easy, so make sure to keep your eye out as well as try your own to keep the enemy guessing and unaware. But spam comps can definitely still thrive here. There's a lot of sight lines, a lot of open space, and a lot of ways to get that high ground and that space, as well as dodge back and play safe. It's pretty hard to chase on this map because of all the line of sight breakers with all of the huts. You'll still probably want more mobile spam characters, like Soldier or Sojourn, who can survive on their own and won't need too much help. That's it for this map preview, and with just around a week left, you'll be able to play it soon, ready to dominate on this fresh new map. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.